So I want to do a quick video about how I got over my sciatica, because I'm dealing with another injury at the moment. I've strained my intercostal muscle. It's a much less serious injury than sciatica, but it stopped me from training, and it's been making me really depressed because I've been really into exercise at the moment. Sorry about that weird little burp I just did. I've been really into exercise at the moment, and I have to stop now, maybe for weeks. I don't know, in case I make it worse. It's a really annoying thing. It's like here, and you use that for everything. Basically, all I can really do is squats. I can't even run. Even walking hurts a bit. Laughing and sneezing and coughing and stuff is pretty painful. The pain in itself is not a problem. It's just an indicator of what's wrong, and I don't want to make it worse. Anyway, besides the point. So, yeah, I had really bad sciatica for a while. It was on my left side, all the way down. So it would be like my lower back into my arse and down like my thigh, all the way down to my foot, basically. And it was horrible. It was completely debilitating. I feel really bad for anyone who's dealing with it now. It's really, really, really painful and stressful. And I guess having this comparatively minor injury that I've been quite depressed about has reminded me of how bad it was to have sciatica and how lucky I am to be over it. I really feel incredibly lucky, because I know some people deal with it their whole lives and they have to have surgery and stuff. So it was a really long journey, and I don't think there's any one thing I did that fixed it. I think there were a lot of things, and I never liked hearing that answer, but I think there really are a lot of things you can do. And yeah, I do think it's generally treatable without surgery in most cases. So the first thing was I had to stop doing certain things. The main thing being sit-ups. I was doing a lot of sit-ups to strengthen my core, and you're not meant to engage in flexion when you have a herniated disc, which is what my sciatica was caused by. It was a herniated disc in my lumbar spine. You're not meant to go into flexion, which is when your spine is normally kind of like this, and then flexion is obviously when it, because if you imagine there's a very, very like crude representation of it, but if you imagine there's a disc bulging out where it's not supposed to be, and you're like this, when you bend, you kind of squeeze it further out, and it presses more here into those nerves. So when you're like this, it kind of contracts and gets squashed in by the spinal columns going up. That wasn't probably a very helpful description, but there's better ones online. Look up like Bob and Bradley or whatever they're called. It's two wacky doctors. They're good. So I was doing a lot of stuff like that. I was doing a lot of sit-ups and stuff. I had to stop doing all of that. Once I found that out, it started to make things a lot better, and I just kind of stopped bending at all, really. I would just squat or crouch when I had to pick something up. I'd really try and avoid flexion at all costs. I also started putting something like this at the bottom of my chair. Just pushes your lower back forwards, And I started, I think what really helped was when I had seen that model of how it kind of works, like you have these spinal columns or whatever, and the disc is like, it was presented to me as being kind of like almost like a balloon type thing in between, that it gets kind of squeezed out too far this way. So anything you can do to kind of squeeze it back in the other way is really good. So that meant often doing certain stretches, the one where you lie flat on the floor all the way down, and then you kind of like raise just your back up slowly so that your back curves backwards, and a lot of stuff like basically like this being the main kind of principle, as opposed to the opposite where you're bending your spine forwards. There are some really good ones. There's a really good yoga routine by a woman named Celeste. She had a really good one. She did like I think she had like quite a few videos on yoga for sciatica. I don't remember if it was the first or the second one she did. There was one she did that was really good. I'll put a link in the description. There are some other ones that are really bad. Some of the sciatica yoga, because the sciatica is caused by different things, and a lot of them focus on the piriformis muscle itself, which I think is often quite counterproductive. So these ones focused more on kind of safe stretching. And what she did that was really helpful, which I think alleviated a lot of my symptoms, was she did a yoga routine that focused on stretching the hamstrings, because when you can't go into flexion, you don't really stretch your hamstrings much. That's normally when you stretch your hamstrings. It's like, for example, bending down to touch your toes. You can't be doing that if you've got a bulging disc. So she devised sort of various safe ways to stretch your hamstrings, and I realized a lot of my pain was actually just in my hamstrings, from them not really being stretched properly because I couldn't ever do it. So that really helped massively. Another thing that is super underrated is sleeping with a really flat pillow, like as flat as possible, really. Because if you think about it, when you bend your neck forwards, you're kind of sending your spine into flexion. So at night when you're sleeping and your head is constantly raised up on like a thick pillow, your spine is always out of shape. So I switched to a really cheap, flat, thin pillow, and that really, really helped. And I've noticed, I haven't had the pain for ages, but I noticed in the past if I would sometimes use a different pillow, I would wake up more sore from what I could tell. Certain types of exercise would make it a lot worse. It was quite hard for me to work out. But another thing that really, really helped was I moved near the beach. This is not something I can recommend to everybody because, I was very lucky to be able to live near the beach. But I moved near the beach for a while. This was when things, it already started to get better once I'd learned, what not to do and what to do. But it would always flare up after a workout, and I really wanted to run, but it was, it would always be bad. I'd always have to pay the price if I went for a run. And I started running on sand on the beach, and that is I would recommend that to anyone in any circumstances with anything. It's just an amazing thing to do, to run on sand, because there's no shock. It's harder on your muscles as well. It forces your muscles to work more. There's no shock on your joints. It's really good exercise. You can run not fast. You run very hard. You put a lot of exertion in, and you don't go very far. So it's like being on a treadmill, but outdoors by the sea. It was incredible. I used to go there basically every day and run, and I think that allowed me to strengthen all of those muscles and to lose a lot of weight, but without any of the shock. So that was when it fully just. I was doing that for a few months, and then suddenly I realised I haven't had pain once. I haven't had pain going for a run once since doing this. I also lost a lot of weight at that time. I was steadily losing it for years, but that was the first time I got properly into shape, where I really had very little fat on my body. And I think that was a big factor as well, because my back was used to, supporting a lot of weight. Suddenly it was much easier. The load was lightened. I think overall I've lost about 4 stone, and that it must have been a big contributing factor, all that weight that I was carrying around. I know women with big tits often have back problems and stuff from that, and definitely if you've got a big gut as well, it's not good for you. It's difficult. So that really helped. Strengthening my core as well was hugely helpful, because that added so much extra support. Just checking my audio is cool. That gave me so much extra support, because that that supports everything in that area. And at first, obviously, as I said, I couldn't do sit-ups, and I still don't do them. I probably could, but I just don't. So I had to do a lot of planks to build my way up to getting core strength. A lot of side planks, a lot of forward planks. There's also the McGill Big Free, which I was not very disciplined about doing, but I think those are very good as well. They're basically the same as planks. They're just core stabilizing and strengthening exercises that are really good. And I built up with that over time. And at first I was told to avoid squats, and I did for years. Then I started doing wide squats, sumo stance squats as they're known, where your legs are kind of out more and there's less pressure on your spine. You don't really have to bend in the same way. You don't have to dip as much. those allow you to build up a lot of strength in your thighs in particular, and I think that was really helpful because if you think about it, your thighs are underneath, whenever you're walking and there's that shock, your thigh muscles are there supporting that and holding your weight and keeping your back straight and propped up. So that was really important. Now I feel comfortable to do normal squats. I haven't yet delved into doing weighted squats. I would like to. I'm a bit hesitant, but I know that people recover from sciatica and do weighted squats and they're okay. If you do them with bad form, you can end up, triggering it again. And that's how many people get it in the first place anyway, is, bad lifting techniques and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely wide squats. I think the safest bet is to start with things like the big three and with planks, because you can't make it worse doing that. You're not going to make it worse from planking. What else? Turmeric, curcumin is a good thing not for getting rid of it, but for treating the inflammation, for relieving the symptoms. And I feel personally, I mean, this is, probably pseudoscientific. I feel if something reduces the inflammation, it's surely going to make it much easier for your body to kind of work in that area, and give your body more room. If something's really inflamed and you kind of bring that down, I feel like surely that would allow you more room. For example, if your body is trying to reabsorb that disc, your spine trying to reabsorb that disc, surely that makes that process easier, just being less inflamed. All your natural healing processes, I would imagine, can take place much more easily. So curcumin, which is really good for a lot of things anyway, I don't think it should be taken every day or anything, but I think once in a while, in particular if you're in a lot of pain, get some milk or something. This is how I would do it anyway. I'd get some like high fat milk, like full whole milk, just like a small bit of it in a cup, a lot of turmeric, like maybe a teaspoon or two, and then some black pepper, because the piperine in black pepper allows turmeric to do its thing. Stir all of that and drink it. The reason for the milk is because apparently turmeric is like fat soluble, so it needs to be absorbed into fat or something. I don't know. There are also curcumin extract tablets, which that is what I originally used to take. They're pretty expensive. And maybe they're more cost effective in the long term. I don't know. You'd have to look into that yourself. I just got into habit because I always had turmeric at home anyway. I just started once in a while putting some in a thing. It's really good as well for other things. If you ever have like a skin flare up or anything like that, it's really fucking good. Some people who've had serious skin conditions like hidradenitis suppurativa, I believe it's called, they have managed to completely cure themselves with turmeric, some of them. I had a family member who had that condition, but she was unable to take it because it thins your blood, and she was on a blood thinner already. And if you take turmeric, curcumin with blood thinners, it can cause your blood to get dangerously thin, so you could get a small cut and just, bleed for hours because your blood won't clot. So that was unfortunate. But yeah, it's really quite amazing, curcumin. I keep alternating between turmeric and curcumin. Curcumin is the active ingredient in turmeric that has anti-inflammatory properties. It's also shown in studies to be very effective as an antidepressant because, well, some people believe depression is caused by inflammation in the brain. I don't know anything about that, but it has in studies proven to be as effective as many prescribed medications as an antidepressant. So well worth looking into that anyway, even if it can't, fix all of the problems you're having. It's certainly better than being stuck on these prescribed anti-inflammatory meds, which you have to take all the time and you get a tolerance to them. And yeah, I'm just a bit hesitant of anything kind of pharmaceutical, really. A bit skeptical of anything pharmaceutical, I should say. Yeah, and what else? I think that's everything. I just don't want to forget anything. The pain from it is really terrible, though. It's really debilitating, and yeah, if anyone's got it and they're going through it, and you feel hopeless, you're not, and you can definitely get better from it. I was going to have surgery and I got very bad care from the NHS actually. I probably could have sued them, but I didn't really want to sue the National Health Service. Had it been private, I would have done. But I went for an appointment and I told him about it. And I didn't like the doctor. He had a shitty vibe. This was in Bristol. At the Broadmead Medical Centre. There's no patient-doctor confidentiality, is there? Just doctor-patient. He's a ginger fella at the Broadmead Medical Centre. Real smarmy prick. I was having my appointment and already just, his whole bored doctor routine. Yep. I get paid 50 grand a year. What do you want? Blah, blah, blah. I hate my job, even though, people on the other side of the world would literally fucking chew their own limbs off to have it. And and then I was like, yeah, it's really difficult, because I was a cleaner at the time, so I was walking around all the time for my job, and I was like, it's really difficult, I can't do anything, I can't sleep, I can't work. And as soon as I said, I can't work, suddenly he looked really he woke up suddenly, and he was like, yeah. And he's like, I'll stop you there. And he was like, what exactly are you trying to get out of this? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, what do you want from me? I was like, medical help, doctor. And he was like, right, okay. And he was like really suspicious of me. And there was an immediate change in the atmosphere. Very clear what he thought. He thought I was trying to get benefits. I was trying to, run a scam with this thing that had been causing me agony for years. And he didn't. He said he would put a referral through for me to be seen, and he didn't. And he told me, he said, I'll put this through and it'll be a really long time. It'll be a really long time before you hear, it could be like 6 months till you hear back. And I was like, okay, cool. And I waited about that, 6 months, and nothing. I hadn't heard anything, and I was in so much pain all the time. I kept wanting to ring, but I was thinking, it's public health service, whatever, I guess it's just, I have to wait. And I called up, and he hadn't put my fucking referral through. He didn't bother. I don't know why. I don't know if that was related to his suspicion of me, but he didn't put my fucking referral through. This prick wouldn't even speak to me on the phone afterwards. I called up, I spoke to the receptionist, I was like, I know it's not your fault, but this guy was a real fucking arsehole to me, and he hasn't put my referral through, and I've been in pain. I because outside of my job, I was also sitting all day at home working on music, and I was in constant pain because this fucking idiot didn't put my referral through, because I think because he had some sort of problem with me. Maybe he was just an incompetent twat, but he didn't. And it had to go through again. And I was like, can it be fast-tracked? But it couldn't. Even though it was his fault, it couldn't be fast-tracked because it's a separate thing. It was nothing to do with, he couldn't correct his own mistake. There was nothing that he could do about it. So I had to wait again, and it was months after that before I could be seen. I finally was seen, I got a scan, everything else, found out it was, fairly serious. And then I was basically told to go see the physio for a bit, and if it didn't get better after a month or two, to have surgery. And I was getting myself ready to have the surgery because I was just thinking, I'm sick of this. It's just ruining my life, it really was not ruining my life, but it was making it significantly worse, It was taking a good 3 points out of 10 off my quality of life, which was already fluctuating quite, seriously. So at times it was really difficult. So I was going to get the surgery, even though you can end up with much worse problems. It's a fairly serious, to have spinal surgery. It's pretty fucking serious. You can end up paralyzed. I know that's rare, but really, you can have quite bad complications. It's a fairly traumatic thing to go through physically, and often it doesn't have the results that you want. So I wasn't taking it lightly, but at this point I'd had it for 5-6 years, and it just was not getting better. So I was fixing to have surgery, and then I ended up moving. I left Bristol, and I couldn't stay on. I had to start the whole process again when I got to Brighton, and by that point, I couldn't stay on the system, even though it was the NHS. I had to go through everything again. So I was going to have to go to a GP again, do all of this stuff. And I ended up only staying in Brighton for like 10 months before moving here to Spain. And I never got to the point of having surgery, basically. So thankfully I didn't, because who knows what would have happened. And now it's gone. I haven't had symptoms for a really long time. So if you're considering surgery, I understand why, because I was as well, and I would have had it. I was that desperate, and I'm sure you are too. But you don't necessarily need it. And if you're overweight, I know it's not nice to hear, but if you're overweight, you should just lose weight. And don't make excuses. Just do whatever you need to do to lose weight. Cutting out alcohol, which is fucking crap for you anyway, and definitely makes inflammation and pain and depression and basically everything much worse, apart from maybe nights out when you're around a bunch of other drunk people. But otherwise, I do think it's like just poison, really. Sugar, just pointless. Eating in a calorie restricted window. I mean, I'm going to do another video later anyway about how I lost weight and stuff, because I think I have some useful info to share in that regard. But yeah, trying to eat in a small, like basically intermittent fasting, like trying to only eat in like an 8-hour window every day, that really helped. And anything you can do to lose weight basically steadily over time, with every stone that you lose, or every 10 pounds or whatever country you're in, whatever you want to call it, your symptoms will be better, I'm fairly sure. Depends what's causing them, but it will almost definitely help you significantly. So try that, and check out Celeste's yoga routine, assuming it's applicable to you if yours is caused by herniated disc. If it's not caused by a herniated disc, I don't know. I don't know if that's as serious. Maybe it is. I literally don't know. But I get the impression the very serious sciatica that's very hard to treat is usually caused by a herniated disc. And the rest is like to do with your nerves or your piriformis and stuff. And I do feel that's easier generally to treat from what I remember. But I could have that completely wrong. So apologies if so. I'm going to do more videos of this nature. If I forget anything, I'll either add it in the comments, or I'll in the description, or I will do another video perhaps. I'll also be doing a lot more videos of this nature, like I said, stuff about how I lost weight quite easily and stuff like that, various other health related things. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this. Also, I'm banned from basically every fucking sub on... Well, no, not every sub on Reddit. Every account on Reddit now. You can't even sneeze on the internet without some fucking job's worth power-hungry mod banning you for making a joke. So a huge portion of my potential livelihood is taken away now. I can't get on Reddit. Maybe I could use a VPN, but I don't know. You have to pay for that as well. So if you could post this on like the sciatica subreddit, if this helped you, that would be really helpful for me and would allow more people to see this. And anywhere else, anyone you know, or any forums you go on or anything, please feel free to share it, because I think it's good for people to avoid surgery if they can. And check out the rest of my stuff if you're interested in things of this nature. A lot of it so far has been creativity related, but there's going to be a lot of general thoughts and advice on various different topics. One other thing that's just coming to mind, you don't generally want a mattress that's too soft. That's another thing I've learned, and there's some debate about that. I'm not 100% sure. And there are a lot of more obvious things. I actually... sorry, there'll be a bit of dead air, but I did actually make a post a while ago where I detailed all of this stuff. So let me see if I can... it's getting fucking hot in here. I have the windows closed a lot because I'm right on the main street, and I feel like people can like see in really easily, So I sort of... there we go, sciatica subreddit. I don't like people seeing me like fucking, walking around and stuff, and then hearing everything I'm doing, and there's so much noise, so I have to keep it closed when I'm doing these videos, but it gets toasty. Another thing, and I still haven't figured this out exactly, but I noticed it always got worse. Sorry, I'm just looking for this thing. I'm not being antisocial, as it were. It always got much worse after a shower. I don't know why. When I would have hot showers, I don't know if it's the way I would stand in the shower. I feel like sometimes I stand in a really weird way in the shower to make like the water go down me in at a certain angle. I would stand weirdly or put pressure on like one part of me or something. I don't know what the fuck it was, but I would like always be much worse after a hot shower. Cold showers were fine. I don't know what to make of that. I know also there's a level of inflammation and heat and whatever. I don't think heat is helpful for a herniated disc. Okay, so yeah, core strengthening. I'm just looking at the things I posted here just to remember. Low impact exercise, like I said, running on sand, swimming. Swimming is a great one. A chair with good support. This chair I've got now is pretty crap. I've got the towel thing in it that I mentioned. I did have a proper chair before. Really important one. My computer now is raised. I'm on a laptop, but if you notice, the camera is basically at eye level. I have a printer underneath it to raise the laptop up, because we're always using laptops when we're looking down. It's forcing us to bend our necks. And, it's horrible. So I have a separate keyboard and mouse that I plug in so that I can raise the laptop up and have it. You shouldn't have to, arch your head down to look. I mean, that's terrible if you're having to do that. Same on your sofa and everything. Make sure everything's set up so you can sit properly, not just comfortably, but, good quality boots and trainers with a lot of support. Really, really, really important. And that's basically it. Try stretching out your hamstrings if you're having a lot of leg pain in the way that Celeste recommends in this video. I'll herniated disc class 1, that's what it's called. Celeste Yoga herniated disc class number 1. Really helpful video. And Celeste ain't bad either. What else? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's all. Good. It's good video until I uncomfortably objectified Celeste at the end there. But she's doing a yoga channel. Yeah, it happens. So good luck with it. I hope you guys find some relief. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It'll take time. You'll get there eventually. And try not to worry about it and try to remember that. I remember a quote in Bowling for Columbine, of all places. It was one of the South Park fellas, and he was talking about growing up in a similar town to that and being bullied at school, and how his advice to people would be, just remember that you get older and it's just gone. It's just it just disappears. It becomes so unimportant. And it's true, really. Like, obviously, there's a lot of mental scars a lot of us carry around from being at school, but really, it's so important at the time. And then when it's gone, it's just gone. And that's how I felt about sciatica a bit, to be honest. And it's part of why I've done this video now that I've had this other injury. I've remembered that, it's reminded me of it because it was a daily thing before, and when it's gone, it's just gone. You just won't even think about it, and at the moment your life is defined by it, and you're like a sciatica person. You don't have to be. You're just you, and you currently are dealing with sciatica, and it may well and probably will go away at some point if treated correctly. Just be careful you don't end up in the hands of a shitty doctor or an over-eager surgeon who wants to cut you open, and don't get hooked on anti-inflammatories that in the long run aren't going to help you. And understand that it really is in your hands above all else. It's your fucking spine. what you do every day has an impact. So keep on top of it and take the control into your own hands, you know. Good. Yeah, subscribe to my channel. Please share my videos if you like any of them, because it's fucking tough out here to get subscribers. Thanks. Bye.